favourite songs around this time of year, and I didn't dare sing it this evening because I'm not entirely sure I'm going to make it to the end of the sermon with my voice intact. I've had it another time.
Next.
Please pray with me. Loving one, source of love, of light, of hope. Thank you for all the signs and messages that you have left for us as a light to show the way. I pray that through my words this evening and all the other parts of our worship service, we may see a light, may find a path that leads us closer to your love. Amen.
Amen. Amen.
I want to begin with a poem by Jan Such Picard, Carrying a Candle. Carrying a candle from one little place of shelter to another is an act of love. To move through the huge and hungry darkness, step by step, against the invisible wind that blows forever around the world, carrying a candle is an act of foolhardy hope. Surely it will be blown out. The wind is contemptuous. The darkness cannot comprehend it. How much light can this tiny flame shed on all the great issues of the day? It is as helpless as a newborn child. Look how the human hand that cradles it has become translucent, fragile and beautiful, foolish and loving, step by step. The wind is stronger than this hand, and the darkness infinite around this tiny, here and now flame that wavers but keeps burning, carried with such care through an uncaring world, from one little place of shelter to another, an act of love. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness can never put it out. This Advent spiral service, Advent and the hope and the longing and the waiting that comes with it is a heart matter, not primarily a head matter. So what I feel I'm doing in my message tonight is doing some of the word speaking and the thinking about head stuff, which we can then soak into our hearts through the words and actions that come with this spiral of light. You know, we live very separate from the natural world, the real world, as I usually think of it these days. The patterns, the cycles of cold and warmth, of light and dark, of growing and dying, sometimes I feel we live a long way away from them with our heating and our cars and our electric lights and all the things which, don't get me wrong, are wonderful and are keeping many people alive who would not otherwise be. But it does render the world oddly unreal sometimes. And yet biologically we're still adapted to it. The coming of winter and summer, the cycles of heat and cold, of light and dark, the long days, the short days. At heart, we're still part of it, and we slow down in winter. Or we want to slow down in winter. Maybe the world doesn't always allow us to, but it is the time for slowing, for gathering, for being with each other, keeping each other warm, giving each other hope, eating more than usual, being ready for the long, cold nights, telling stories, pondering things, waiting for the activity of spring. Some of us still live a lot closer to that than others, some not by choice. The cycles of cold and warmth are very obvious when you're homeless. Cold when you don't know where you're going to sleep, or if you're certain it's going to be on the street, is a very, very real thing indeed. And some a little more by choice. The farmer is still very attuned to the cycle of the year. But for most of us, it's become more symbol than thing. But the symbolism is important. It's part of how we understand the world. The cycle of the seasons, longest day, longest night, it's significant way beyond the scientific facts. You know, unemotional facts are fine for those whose lives do not depend upon them. But all life depends on the energy of the sun. Light and warmth is survival, safety. Night and winter are danger. The danger of freezing, the danger of hunger, of the unseen predator. It's deep within who we are. So we use light as one of our most powerful understandings of what hope and safety and life might be. And Jesus is symbolized for us the light of the world, a great light, one who dawns like the sun, one whom darkness cannot understand or overcome, because he brings life and hope. And Isaiah points to the same thing, God, the source of all hope. At the time, Israel's fussing over whether they've got to worry about Damascus attacking. And Isaiah's going, yeah, you've got bigger problems than Damascus. Give it a couple of years. Assyria's going to have overrun them. But don't get complacent, because Assyria's still on your doorstep. And actually, look further. Look beyond all these nations. Look beyond all these armies. Look to God, the source of hope. And to do that, oddly enough, we walk into the night. The shepherds could have stayed in the dark on a hillside. The Magi could have stayed in the east, plenty of stars in the sky over there. The innkeeper could have stayed in the house. Joseph and Mary could have stayed in Nazareth, and then there would have been no story. To find the light, we go into the darkness, into discomfort, into doubt, even into danger, to find the source of light. And then we bring it back to share. And winter is a good time for that journey in prayer. Into doubt, or our fears, learning to be in the silence of ourselves, to be alone with God, to consider the things we don't necessarily want to consider, but will show us the way to deeper understanding, to getting light from the source of light, which we do not find in the bustle and the buying and the busying. We don't find it in rushing about. We don't find it in tinsel or television. We find it in the quiet, where we dare to go and be alone with God. And then we bring it back to share with everyone. I'll hand you over to Mary.
Just to do a few practical instructions. So our prayer tonight is in the form of a litany, and we're going to conclude each reading by saying, "May the darkness illuminate the light." And then there's going to be a moment of silence, followed by the ringing of the tin sharp. The readings are going to be accompanied by the lowering of the electric lights until we are sitting still and in comparative darkness. This central light, whatever your story, can be a symbol of many realities. The primordial flaring forth of our universe 13.7 million years ago, or perhaps Buddha's enlightenment teachings and practice, or the birth of Jesus, the cosmic Christ, breaking into history as Emmanuel. Whatever story you're walking, let this central light be the still point within each of us, the deep core of all our stories, the place of divinity, that which unites all of us as one. Hold on. Twilight is a time for sharing and a time for remembering the shadows of the gathering dusk. Here, our two worlds meet and pass. The frantic sounds of people grow dimmer as the light recedes. The unhurried rhythm of the other world swells in volume as the darkness deepens. Memories burn more brightly as the things of substance lose their line and form in the softness of the dark. Listen tonight with all the wisdom of your spirit. Listen too with all the compassion of your heart. May the darkness illuminate the light. May the darkness illuminate the light. Great Spirit God, Creator of darkness, be with each of us who walk this spiral tonight, that their paths may guide and protect us on our way as we attain the centre and search for truth. May the darkness illuminate the light. To go in the dark with the light is to know the light. To know the dark, go without light, and find that the dark too blooms and sings. And is travelled by dark feet and dark wings. May the darkness illuminate the light. There is in God, some say, a deep, dazzling darkness. May the darkness illuminate the light. I'm going to ask you now to come forward when you're ready and walk the spiral. You can spiral your way through the pathway of greens into the centre of your light holder. And then in the centre there's a light, and you can take a light and carry it back. And as you return to your place, and as each of us brings back our light, we will witness our space here grow in light, and how our walking together can sustain us in whatever darkness may hover over us personally or over our sacred earth. Tonight is the day we proclaim together the power of compassion, the power of love, and the power of light. So please come forward as you're ready.